Hey guys, Josh here again, and today we have another remade video. Today we have 100 Icarus tips and tricks. Don't forget that these are subject to change, but without further ado, let's get into it, shall we? So the first thing that we're going to show you guys is how to auto pick up items while you're running or walking by them. So your default to pick up an item or use is usually F. Mine is changed to E. So whatever your default harvest key is, you'll press that and just hold it. And as you're walking, you'll automatically pick up anything that comes within that harvest range. So you can move your mouse around like this. If you're looking, like say you're running through a forest like so, you can sit there and just kind of hold E and pick up stuff automatically. So the next thing we're going to talk about is talents. So in the Icarus, you can only get up to a maximum level of 50. And with that level 50, you get 60 talent points. So you only get 60 talent points total, guys. So just keep in mind whenever you're placing your talents that 60 talents is all you get. You can go through and respec as long as you have respec points. You do get some by default whenever you first start playing Icarus. So what you do is you'll right click on something and then spend that respec talent point. You can buy respec points whenever you're up in the base station and you go to your talents on any character. You can click on respec points here and buy a respec point. It does require 150 Ren to buy one respec point. Every character has an oxygen slot and a light slot. In the oxygen slot, you could put tanks or just straight up oxide to feed your oxygen. And in the light slot, you could put torches, lanterns, or flashlights, and just hit L. They'll turn on your light. Which brings us to our next tip. There's two items that are really good to have whenever you first start out. We have the O2 tank and the canteen. And they are literally one of the first items that you can unlock in the workshop. O2 tank costs 200 Ren and 75 to craft, and the canteen's 250 to craft. And these last for a very long time. So oxygen, how do you get it? There's two current ways to get oxygen. One way is to mine oxide. These blue rocks that look like this is oxide. This could be mined for oxide that you can put in your oxygen slot. Or you can combine this with a oxide dissolver. And the second way to get oxide is to just actually gather these with E or F, whatever your harvest command is. And this will actually give you oxide as well. So now we're going to talk about tree sap and how to make tons of it. One of my favorite talents is wood breakdown, and it is right underneath lumber yield. And is wood breakdown unlocks the ability to turn wood into sticks. With this ability, in your crafting inventory, you can make tons of sticks. So 100 woods will make about 1,000 sticks. Then once you have those sticks made, you can take them in your mortar and pestle and craft tree sap. Of course, you can also use a material processor as well, which is faster. But this is a great way to get tons of tree sap. It's very easy to get 100 wood real fast with a hatchet, and this will help quite a bit later on whenever you go to start making epoxies and using biofuel. The next thing that we're going to show you is audio cues for animals. That little bird-like chirp was an audio cue for a moa. And you can hear those vocal buffaloes in the distance. Of course, that's the sound of a wolf. And of course, that's the audio cue for a bear. There are a ton of audio cues in the game, as long as you listen for them. You can hold down or hold left click to perform actions faster. You don't have to sit there and individually click every time you want to attack. This also goes for any weapon or tool. So you can just hold left click just like you auto gather. Keep all your bones. Every bit of your bones for epoxy, and also we're going to show you real quick how to make epoxy. It's one of the most important things that we mentioned in the game. Learning crush bone also in your tech points and epoxy is one of the best things you can do. It'll help you gather and get a ton of epoxy later on in the game. You turn all your bones into crush bone and all your crush bone into epoxy. And of course, you can also make epoxy in mass with tree sap, like we taught you how to make, and sulfur. Epoxy is used in tons of recipes later on in the game, and especially in electronics. Did you know you can sleep in Icarus? Sleeping actually lets you skip from dark to day, and also gives you a buff. So it's quite valuable to sleep in Icarus. The only way to do so is using a sleeping bag or bed, as we have here, and a campfire near it, and shelter. And you can only sleep after 1800 hours. As you can see, it's currently 19 hours, so we're going to go ahead and sleep, which will lead to our next tip. Sleeping in a higher tier bed, or like a rustic bed like here, actually gives you a little bit more buff, 25%. And as you can see in the bottom corner, we now have a plus 25% buff, which is well rested. The time is increased by 25% on well rested, and as stated, it's plus 25% length or time when using an upgraded bed. Did you know that you can stop skinning by hitting the same button after holding it? In our case, it's E to skin. And we just hit E again. Of course, default could be F for you. So you just hit F and then hit F again. Did you know you can sneak behind animals? All you have to do is get directly behind the animal and it can't see you. You do want to be holding left control so you're stealth. But if the animal can't see you, it won't attack you. Leaving dead bodies attracts predator, like this wolf. And sometimes boars, jaguars, cougars, and hyenas. Next thing we're going to show you is that all animals have critical spots. And you'll just kind of learn where the critical spots are for some animals. Like for example, for the bear, it's in the head. Like so. Of course, the chamois is in the head. Most animals are in the head. And wolves are in the head as well. Sometimes baby deer give soft meat. Sometimes they don't. So next we're going to teach you about bears and how to joust or matador bears. The easiest way to joust or matador a bear is just move to the left whenever he comes after you. Back up a little bit. All right. Doesn't matter which way you go. And then just incorporate a bow and some arrows. You can also matador polar bears now. Try to get criticals if you can. And you'll have one dead boo-boo. The next thing we're going to show you is sneak attack damage. So if you were to hold left control by default and then get a sneak attack on an animal, you'll notice that the damage is so much higher. But where if you were just to hit him normally, about 600. So when you're trying to kill something, kill it in stealth. You'll get that 2.7 times damage. So the next thing I'm going to show you is how to use slanted beams. So make you wood beams and use the diagonal beam option. And place you a few beams as so. Just stack them on top like so. You can also, at the very top of the beam, place a horizontal beam like so to move around even more. This is great for like bosses or enemies or anything you really want to shoot at. And as you can see with this bear, he can't attack us either. And as you see, bear's dead. Then all you gotta do is pick up your wooden beams. One thing you'll see a lot of is my health bars perk or module This character does currently have the health bars perk, and it's underneath the survival and hunting talent tree, going from fine butchers, strong shoulders, health bars. And this lets you see animal health bars. As you can see, those little yellow bars right there greatly help you with seeing where the animals are. Sometimes you can shoot and kind of guess where the head is. As you can see, that health bar's right there. Right there is a head. Takes a little getting used to, but you can do it. I believe in you. So instead of having the perk, if you don't want to have the perk and use the talent points for that, there is the animal health bar module, which is available for 75 Ren and 25 exotics to research, and 50 Ren and 10 exotics to craft. Is a prerequisite of mass dampener. And you also have the animal highlight module, which will put a red outline of the animals as well. It's another mod you can have, and as you can see, it does all 3 animal types: small, medium, and large. It is possible to wound an animal, then track it. Non-aggressive animals like deers and chamois. As you see, we're going to go ahead and shoot that deer. Then on the ground, you'll see a little blood trail. And all you have to do is hit E or your examine command, E or F, and it'll show you a general direction of where that animal went. And as you can see, here's the next one. And so on. So you've scanned the body, and now you have the skeleton left over. The skeleton can be harvested with a knife, pickaxe, or hatchet. And it gives you bones, of course. When starting a new game, there's 2 zones to choose from currently: Olympus and Styx. Olympus is much easier than Styx, as Styx has some different animals and harder storms and whatnot, and harder missions as well. Our next tip is all the expedition missions in Styx has to be completed to unlock the cut-throughs or caves that go to different biomes for that area. So Maelstrom has to be done, Vertigo, Zephyr, and Ricochet. As you can see, they say clear a path to enter a new region. And this will unlock the caves and stuff in Styx. So completing missions in Styx will unlock the cut-throughs or shortcuts. Sometimes you can use your environment to gain an advantage. Predators. Just use like a tall pointy rock, or side of the cliff, or the water. And say, for example, if you got a bear behind you, you can sit there and just backpedal while you stab the bear in the face. This also goes for using things like cave entrances as protection. Or say if you got a bear behind you and the bear couldn't go through this entrance. You can also use objects in caves like these stalactites or mites to line of sight poison. So use your environment to your advantage. Next, we're going to show you how to heal up fast in Icarus using just meat. You can use any meat to actually heal in Icarus. Usually I keep me a stack of cooked meat on me. You can sit there and right click and consume constantly, or you can put it on your bar like I just did, hit that number, and then just left click. And you can heal fast. So keep you a little bit of meat on your bar, like if you're going to be doing a boss or something like that, and then you can just hit that number and heal up quick. So one of the fastest ways to level up in Icarus is to kill stuff. As you can see, predators give quite a bit more experience. Predators being anything that will attack you or attack you back. And bears being huge XP. Got about 6,000 for that one. Wolves will also give you huge amounts of XP as well. 5,000 for that one. You also get XP for skinning enemies. It's quite a bit of XP. Everything you do in Icarus will give you some XP, like crafting, killing, completing missions. But also keep in mind that whenever you go to do a mission or an open world or whatever you're doing, if you choose hard, not only do you get more rewards, but you also get an extra 25% experience gain. And some foods, like cooked and crispy bacon, these items can also give you bonus experience as well to level even faster. And they do stack. Grab all your experience buffs and kill everything you see. Ever since the 1-year anniversary or week 53, we've had decentralization, which means that you own all of your data. So we're going to show you how to back up Icarus. So once you come to this screen and hit play, you'll get a download in the middle of your screen telling you to decentralize and download your data. After you download your data, exit the game. On your desktop, you're going to right-click Windows and go to File Explorer, and we need to find your app data folder. The easiest way to get to that folder is to go to this PC and select the drive that you have Windows installed on. You'll see it with the Windows icon here. Go to Users, go to the username that you're currently logged in as, and then up top here you should see App Data. If you do not see App Data, click on View up top here and select Hidden Items. Then you will see it. Under App Data, you're going to choose Local, and then scroll down to Icarus. This is your saved folder. This is where all of your current character information, including your outposts, characters' inventories, your Ren, your exotics, your characters, what all they have on them, and all your prospects, open world, doesn't matter. Everything is saved in this save folder. So what you can do is you can right click it, copy it, and then put it on a thumb drive or put it on another disk drive. And this will back up Icarus, so if you ever in the future have any problems or have a drive failure, you'll have a copy of your Icarus characters and everything. I would highly suggest doing this maybe once a month or more often, depending on how you want to. But it's a good idea to back up Icarus. And these are all the folders you'll see in there. So ever since decentralization, you are allowed to have as many characters as you would like. I currently have 5. This one being my newest one. You can create as many as you want. You can also change what a character looks like. So we're going to select a character here and hit select character. And for this tip, we're going to click on customize. And as you can see, it'll show up. You can't change the name of the character unless you go into your saved folder that we just showed you, and you can change your name there. But you can change all of the icons, what your suit looks like, everything like that. And change the voice, facial hair, etc. And then just hit confirm character. Did you know that you can report bugs in-game live now? All you have to do is hit escape during any session and hit report an issue. A box will appear where it gives you 500 letters to describe your issue, and then once you describe the issue, hit send report. And this will help them track down the issue and you'll send a bug report. This helps make the game better. You can sell exotics for Ren. Select any character, then go to your workshop. At the very top here, you'll see Sell Exotics. And one exotic sells for 5 Ren. Choose how much you want to sell, and then hit OK. And it'll add it to your currencies. When you choose a character and go to Loadout, under the Your Items section, any item that you've uploaded with and that has been damaged is now persistent, which means that you can repair items on the space station side. So what you'll do is you'll select the item that is damaged, and you'll right-click it and click Repair. It does cost 10 Ren to repair something, but it repairs it to full. After you turn level 50, you get 3 tech points per level up. And yes, you do continue to level up in this game. After you level past a certain experience, you'll become level 50 again, but it will add 3 points available to your tech points. As you can see here, we've pretty much unlocked everything that we can in all 4 tiers, and still have about 550 points available. And you can also go to load and choose one of your past prospects or your open worlds and see what level your character actually is. For now, unless they change that in the future. But yeah, you can literally unlock everything at some point with enough level ups. So if you're like me and you have multiple drop downs or multiple loadouts out on planet side, you will see here items on drop. It says click to reclaim. These are all the items that are currently on these open worlds or outposts or missions. You could scroll and see what all is on that mission, but you might be asking yourself, how do you get these items back? So the way to do that is to load the game that the items are associated with. Let's say, for example, we want to get this subscriber city equipment back. We need to go and load up our subscriber city save. It's in the prospect. And then once I upload, I should get all that gear back. Go back to our loadout, and at the very bottom, you'll see we have a whole set of gear. All of our gear was returned to us. And now the loadout is no longer on this screen. And of course, you can just right click and repair your gear now. Whenever you're the host of a game, you can kick other players that's joined your session. All you have to do is hit the kick button next to their name and then hit yes, and it'll kick that player out of the prospect. When playing with multiple players, you can only see your drop pod on the map. Also, another tip for the map is that you can double left click on the map to add markers, and other people can place markers on the map too. All you have to do is double left click the marker to remove it. You can also scroll in and out the map, and you can also use these different topographies. This is the regular one that you see normally. This is kind of like a black and white version, and this is a lot easier to see icons in the map. And here's a different version. This icon right here will center the map on your player, and this icon right here will remove any scans from scanners on the map. And of course, you have your legend up top here as well. If you go to settings and go to controls and scroll down, you'll see that you can actually rebind keys. One thing I suggest most people doing is rebinding your drop item key to something that is further away from your movement keys, especially if you're like me and have fat fingers. I put mine to negative on the number pad. All you have to do is click on the icon there for that, and then hit the new key, and it will assign it for you. One of my favorite bookmarks for Icarus is IcarusIntel.com. IcarusIntel.com lets you bring up a live map that you can interact with and see locations for caves, objectives, exotics deposits, geysers, and so much more. You can also choose which map you're using, like Styx or Olympus, and the outposts, and what missions you want to choose for that biome. Let's say, for example, we're going to do Styx Flatline Research. As you can see, we spawn in this area, and here's the objectives. So IcarusIntel.com, good bookmark. The next thing we're going to show you is fires and fire damage to wooden structures and stone structures. So fires can be started accidentally by forest fires, lightning, or, just walking over a campfire like so. You can start a fire in your wood structure, but how do you put it out? Well, the number one way to put out a fire is with a fire whacker. You can use the fire whacker to put out any kind of fires, and this includes out in the world as well. You can put fires out there as well. Another way to put fires out is with water bombs. So you'll just left click and throw those. But as you'll see, you actually cannot catch stone structures on fire. They just don't catch on fire. So upgrading the stone is wise whenever you can do so. Or having a fire whacker and water bombs. Also, stone structures are immune to storm damage. You can also craft the fire extinguisher, but it does require a little bit more mats than these two items. Hey. Yeah, I'm empty. Hate the loading screen for Icarus? You can go to Settings, Gameplay, and scroll down to the very bottom under User Interface and skip Startup Movies. Select that as being on. Then when you go to start up Icarus the next time, you'll see 3 dots moving in the bottom left screen, and then as soon as it loads, it goes straight to the first splash screen. If you don't like that movie constantly playing when you load up Icarus, turn it off. Some people don't know this, but you can actually just select a mission.
Welcome to Icarus, friend.
Drop down on it.
Says we got it.
And then you can immediately upload with no penalties. Just hit return to station. If you have workshop gear in your inventory or in your cargo, it'll come right back up with you.
The air's poison. Wildlife's out to kill you.
And with Beachhead, if you do this, you get 25 Ren. I'll go back to your character select screen and you're ready to drop down to a new mission. So, the Arctic. Let's talk about it, shall we? It's super cold, not completely barren. This is also where you can get ice. It's collected in the Arctic biome. And sometimes you'll find driftwood, and this is just wood. It's located in the Arctic biome as well, along with Styx and stone. In some Arctic biomes, you'll find polar bear, and in some, you'll find wolves. Be careful, as sometimes groups of wolves can spawn and take you out. So the next thing we're going to show you is emergency heat, and this tactic is where you can burn a ramp or a wood piece. Just place the ramp and then the campfire underneath it. And once that catches on fire, just repair it. The structure can catch back on fire again, and as you can see, it's about 585 degrees right now with it on fire. But that will help you get some emergency heat if you need it. Also, anytime you're in the Arctic biome, make sure you take your canteen or water source out, because anytime that you have water in your slot, it'll make you cold. As you can see, it's cooling. Water cools you. It gives you a rate of cooling per minute plus 10 and -5 degrees Celsius to temperature. So it's not really great for you to have it in your slot in this biome. First, also, when you're in the Arctic biome, you can use caves like this for shelter. Anytime you go into caves, don't forget, get a cave debuff underground. Increases your chance of pneumonia, and you can counter it with a dehumidifier. But there's also another way you can counter getting pneumonia, and that's resetting your cave debuff. So after a few minutes, while you're in here doing your thing and killing cave worm, after a few minutes, you can go outside of the cave and reset your cave debuff, and then re-enter again. And what that does is it resets the timer for you to get pneumonia. I've noticed if you do that quite often, there's a much lower chance of you getting pneumonia. But you also have respawns of worms. Let's say you didn't have great armor or had no armor, and you have the cold debuff. So after 5 minutes, there's a chance for you to get hypothermia, which eventually will lead to frostbite and kill you. So the way you reset your cold debuff is carry a campfire and a light source, such as wood or coal, and stand next to that source until that cold debuff falls off. Once that cold debuff falls off, you're ready to move on again. And just remember, you have 5 minutes until you have a chance of getting hypothermia and then frostbite. You can also counter this with heating band-aids, like so. Requires fiber, oxide, and charcoal to make. And of course, wearing any kind of decent drop-down gear will also help you counter this cold as well, as these give a ton of resistances to weather and temperatures. So if you come across ravines like these in the Arctic, these are actually shelter-proof, or they can help you with shelter. So if you're in the middle of a storm in the Arctic, all you have to do is go down into this ravine here, and this will shelter you from the elements. Another quick tip is if you actually upload with a oxygen tank and canteen that has oxygen and water in it, and then you can actually drop down with that again on a new prospect. So you instantly have a full tank and water. Ah, the desert. Let's show you a little bit about the desert, shall we? It's a very hard, biddable place, and storms are rampant. Heat storms, sandstorms, and shamals, one of the most dangerous storms in Icarus. There's not much water around. There are oases sometimes in the desert, animals that would like to attack and kill you, like cougars, hyenas, and scorpions especially. It's a good idea to bring some kind of shelter or know where your caves are. Scorpions can give you a pretty nasty debuff, but is also one of the primary sources of soft meat, which is a good meat to have. Also in the desert, sometimes you'll come across cactuses or cacti, and they can give fiber, tree sap, and wood. Elephants are also a source of giant steak in the game. There's also pigs in the desert, which is a great source of bacon. Sometimes you can find trees or palm trees in the desert, and chopping the top of that will give you coconuts, and then also you can find squash in the desert. Also be careful of sandworms as they're out here as well. So next off, we're going to show you how to move fast, encumbered. So we are completely encumbered. We just farmed a ton of stone, a whole inventory, actually, to be precise. So yeah, this is how fast we can move encumbered. And the reason why this is because two things. I'll show you one of them right now. It's the Inaris Nev's pickaxe, which actually gives you negative 50% over encumbrance penalty. That means that it lets you take away 50% of the over encumbrance penalty. And then also in your talents, you have Carry On, which gives you an additional 25% at 4 levels of over encumbrance penalty reduced. That's negative 75% over encumbrance penalty reduced. If you add other things such as mass dampeners, which increase your movement speed, and of course your talents and perks as well, then you'll be moving quite fast. So this means that you can go farm out a whole entire cave and bring it all back home instead of making multiple trips. So if you bring up your inventory by hitting I and go over to inventory, you will see your stats over here. And there are a lot of stats in Icarus. Tons of stats, as a matter of fact. To see all the stats, you can hit show more. And that will show you literally every single stat that's in Icarus currently. There's so many stats in Icarus. Just kind of ridiculous. This blew my mind. So accolades are actually just kind of like achievements in Icarus. So you can go and, like, for example, survive on the planet for 5 hours, 10, 15, or 50 hours. You got some construction talents, general talents, hunting, and of course medals. Don't drop your items, destroy them. So whenever you have something that you no longer want or need, and it's something that you crafted, you can actually right-click that item and destroy it. And this will give you back 50% of the mats that you spent for such item. This is extremely valuable when you start breaking down higher tier items or anything with like electronics or anything of that sort in it. And also when you're first starting out and mats are limited. So you can also stack things in Icarus. This includes resource piles, even drying benches. You can also put some crafting items on top of other things, like, for example, the mortar and pestle here can be put on top of the crafting bench, and campfires can even be stacked on top of each other. Also, small and medium-sized boxes. Both these campfires are completely immune to weather and can actually be used as a viable storage option early game. And in the fire pit, you can store quite a bit of items. Same thing goes with a campfire. You can store whatever you want in the items, and they will be completely immune to storm damage. If you accidentally misplace a structure or are ready to bring it somewhere else, you can actually hit Y and pick up a structure. And this will add the item back to your inventory. You can also, while placing a structure, hold R, and this will give you different building options for said structure. Also, while placing a structure, if you hit the End, END, button on your keyboard, it'll let you free place a structure without having to snap. You can also hit page up and page down to bring the structure up and down. Just make sure you place it in the ground so it's actually supported. MXC fuel canisters last for a very long time and can be filled in any composter. Just place it in the composter and it'll fill back up. But MXC fuel canisters last much longer than regular biofuel cans. They are located about halfway in the workshop and are researched for 150 Ren and only cost 75 Ren to make. You can hit numpad number 8 to enter the camera controls. This is where you could go and take photos of yourself. Like so. Just press E to take the photo. You can also hit left Alt to toggle settings, there's tons of options here that you can mess around with, like exposure and etc. And you can also make your own preset. You also hit C to toggle first person and third person. And while you're in third person, you can hold left alt and move your mouse and look around you and look at your character. You can also hit 9 on the number pad to remove your UI. If you ever find yourself in a bad place or situation, you can always unstuck. Unstuck will send you somewhere nearby. As you can see, we were underneath that bridge, and now we're here. You can also use this to get out of bad situations, too. Did you know that you can level in open world? Yes, you get full experience in open world. Once you get high enough level, you can also craft a short-range radio and a crafting bench. Place it outside, and then you can do quests. These quests will also give you experience and give you items as well. So there's 2 tameable animals in the game. Currently, there is the buffalo and the moa. We're going to teach you how to do the buffalo real quick. So what you got to do is kill the mommy. And once you kill the mommy, the baby can now be claimed. Just claim the buffalo and press E so it will either stay still or you can lead it back home. We're going to leave it back home real quick. And you just protect it on the way back home. Like we might grab us another one. You can actually grab and drag multiple animals back too. And we're going to go ahead and bring him into our little pen here, and he'll eat and sleep. You have to make sure you have some animal beds around and a water trough and food in the trough. So, and as you've seen, he slept and is now eating. After all 3 check marks, which is sheltered, fed, and slept, are all checked, then you now have a taming buffalo. Once that reaches 100%, you can put a saddle on him or cart, and he can be used, just like his little buffalo next to him. Be careful of Kias whenever you're playing in Styx. They absolutely love to steal meat out of drying racks and campfires. So try to keep your structures like those that you cook with inside when playing Styx. So one of the most annoying things in the game is pneumonia, and we touched a little bit on it in caves earlier, but pneumonia can be countered, and the way you do that is through the herbalism bench. In the herbalism bench, you can craft an antibiotic tonic, and it requires 1 yeast, an epoxy, and some charcoal. You'll find tonics in tier 2 after the herbalism bench here, and right here is the antibiotic tonic. Also, anti-poison is a good tonic as well. If you're having problems with the poison from cave worms or scorpions, you can use an anti-poison. Get rid of that. But it's always a great idea to go ahead and craft you a few of these. And this will get rid of pneumonia anytime that you have it. You can also go into the kitchen bench and actually make antibiotic pills, and that reduces the chance of getting pneumonia for 600 seconds and gets rid of pneumonia as well. They're a little more upgraded, takes a tonic, some epoxy, and charcoal. And of course, pills are learned in tier 3 where the kitchen bench is, and the antibiotic pill. The anti-poison pill actually is good for the sandworms. So we're going to talk a little bit about negative and positive perceived threat and explain what it kind of is. So perceived threat is when something sees you, and negative perceived threat means that something sees you less. So armors such as the hunter and the ghillie both give negative perceived threat. So that means that enemies or animals, creatures, whatever, is seeing you less. There are some items in the game that give you positive perceived threat, like this knife here, plus 25% perceived threat while stealth. That means that while you're crouched, they see you plus 25% more. Berry jam and pickled carrots both have absolutely no spoil timer and do not require refrigeration. They are also quite easy to make, as pickled carrots is just a glass jar and carrot, where the jam is wild berry, which is everywhere in the forest biome, and a glass jar. Berry jam also boosts your max stamina and reduces water consumption, where pickled carrot does the same and boosts projectile damage. You also get experience as well. Great foods to make. Using a plumbed sink will give you a buff, believe it or not. The buff you get is actually called recently washed, and that gives you a small crafting boost, which affects marble kitchen benches and the electric stove, plus 10% crafting speed, plus 5% movement speed, plus 30% health regeneration, so a good way to actually regenerate health, plus 15% sleep quality, so wash your hands before bed, and reduces your water and food consumption by 10%. The buff only lasts for 120 seconds, but if you're getting ready to go to sleep or craft something, it could be worth it. Not many people know this, but in kitchen benches that are connected to water, you can actually fill up your canteen. All you have to do is drag the canteen into the kitchen bench's inventory, and it'll slowly fill up your canteen. And now my canteen is full. Neat, huh? You can go up to most water sources and hit E, or whatever your default is to drink, and it'll actually fill up not only your water, but also any canteens that you currently had on you. So actually fill up your water and your canteen at the same time. Did you drop down naked as the day you were born? If you're fairly new to the game, or you don't have any armor with you when you drop down, cloth armor is actually a decent armor set to have. It's much better than nothing. Cloth armor will give you physical resistance, heat and cold resistance, exposure resistance, and also, with the full set, a 5% movement speed buff. And it's easily repaired with fiber, and made with fiber. Using a hatchet on small trees like this one gets you more resources than gathering it by hand. As you can see with this tree, we're getting about 18 to 10, and much less whenever you gather it by hand. You get several more resources using an axe. Did you know that most buff foods and items that you can gather, like carrots and watermelons, are static? That means that anytime that you play this map, these will always be here. It's always good to carry a wooden structure or 1x1 like this whenever you're traveling. That way you can escape the elements. Don't forget to also bring a repair hammer, but a wooden 1x1 structure and a campfire could save your life in the Arctic biome, and the structure could definitely save your life in the desert biome and other biomes as well. So if you notice that you're having problems with storms, carry a 1x1. You can also carry glass 1x1s. They are much lighter. The next thing we'll show you is how to repair like a pro. Whenever you're in a storm and your structure that you're in is taking damage, you don't have to sit there and constantly repair the structure. Only whenever it goes below half health, usually I repair it. If you just sit there and constantly repair like this, whenever the structure's not even 3/4 of the way down, you're just going to degrade your hammer and use it up quicker. You want it to last as long as you can. Just wait for the structure to be at least half durability and then repair it. So there's different types of food buffs that you can have. If you hover over it, it says that it provides the cooked bacon modifier for the cooked bacon. And then this one provides a crispy bacon modifier for crispy bacon. That means that you can have both of these on at the same time. But if you see here, this says provides the cooked prime meat modifier. That means if you were to eat this, you would not be able to eat another prime meat and get another buff, such as cooked gamey meat, which is another prime meat buff. Of course, if you go up to the advanced pies and whatnot and breads, Those are also really good foods to have. Just keep an eye on if it gives you an experience. Of course, if you're leveling, experience is going to be king, and giving you a decent amount of stamina and HP. You want to have a large HP bar and a large stamina bar. The larger the stamina bar, the further you can go and the longer you can go. Dried Stringy is absolutely amazing for the melee attack speed, and also if you have the alteration bench, you can add a melee attachment to whatever melee tool you're using. Makes farming ores and nodes and voxels so much easier. And bacon is really great for the XP, and it also gives maximum HP and stamina on both the cooked and crispy bacon. You can go with an all meat diet like I do. Of course, I have additional talents to give me an additional food buff. If you were to go into the cooking and farming tree, you will see at the very end food pyramid, which gives you 1 extra space in your stomach. That will give you 4 food buffs. And of course, with the nutrition attachment, which costs 4 composites and 4 electronics, you can also have an additional space in your stomach, which means that you can in Icarus have 4 or 5 maximum food buffs on your character at a time in vanilla. When using a ranged weapon, you can hold R to select your ammo type. As you can see, I have 2 different ammos. I have a flint arrow and bone arrow. Of course, this works as well with firearms. And you just kind of hover over the mouse and let go, and it will select that ammo type. You can use thatch ramps to climb up the side of mountains or up plateaus or whatever you really want to climb. Sometimes missions also require you to climb as well. As long as the thatch ramp is anchored into something solid, for example, this rock here to our right, you can climb up the side of the mountain. Pay attention to your building durability. See, now it's green. If you need to, place another one into the side of the mountain. But you can climb and go really high and build on top of huge things with this method. And of course, you can also pick them up on the way down if you're ever so brave. Like so. You have tons of status effects that you can see in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen. To read and see what these are, just hit I to bring up your inventory, and then you can go down here to status effects and hover over. This will show you all the different status effects and what they are and how they affect you. This includes your meats, well-rested buffs, cooling buff because of my water, and of course I sprained my leg. Warm and cozy also for health and regeneration. But this is where you see your status effects at and what is ailing you. So if you see something in the bottom left-hand corner that you don't recognize, hit I, hover over it, and you'll figure out what it is. Which leads to our next tip, which is the warm and cozy buff. And the warm and cozy buff is a buff you get when you're near a campfire. The warm and cozy buff will give you the plus 50% health regeneration, plus 50% stamina regeneration. It also gives you plus 10% experience gain, which means that if you're crafting, you get additional 10% experience, and gives you plus 15% heat resistance. It's a good idea to go and heal next to a campfire because it's so much faster. If you're on the side of a really tall cliff and don't want to fall down it, hold the crouch button, which is left control, and then walk towards the edge of the cliff. As long as you hold down left control and are crouching or in stealth mode, you will never go off the cliff. I'm still pressing forward and it won't let me go off the cliff. This can help you get down to the very side of a cliff. As you can see here, I'm moving all around this cliff here, and it will not let me, as long as I'm holding down control, it will not let me fall off this cliff. Stuck on wood buildings, tired of them burning down? A really good way to make a lightning rod early in game is to stack several poles very high, like so. lightning will always strike the tallest structure. Now, this may burn down if it gets struck by lightning, but at least your house won't get struck. You can also make these out of stone, or just make a lightning rod. But this is a cheap, easy, and effective way to make a lightning rod early in game. You can dig into rocks like this and use it as a shelter. All you gotta do is dig out the rock far enough to where you're not getting storm exposure. And it can be used as emergency shelter. If you dig out the bottom, you can also sometimes place campfires inside of these as well. This would be great if you're freezing to death in an Arctic biome. And some Arctic biome rocks are large enough to put even a bed, fire, and yourself in. There's 2 missions in the game that unlock the ability for you to extract or get exotics by farming them. The first mission is Deep Vein Extraction, which unlocks voxel nodes or ores, kind of like iron or copper nodes. And the second being Payday Extraction, which unlocks the ability for you to take an extractor on an exotic vein and get tons of exotics. You can also get exotics from missions as well, but those are the 2 ways that you can actually literally farm exotics. The veins are randomly spread out throughout the map, and you have to use a radar and extractor to get the exotics from that, and use an OEI or orbital exchange interface to upload the exotics. You also have to use an orbital exchange interface on Deep Vein Extraction and any exotics that you need to upload now, which is crafted in the crafting bench. Exotic nodes are always found inside of caves. Let's talk a little bit about workshop gear, or drop-down gear as I call it. I'm going to go through and point out some of my favorite items in the workshop. Of course, I absolutely love the O2 tank and canteen. They last forever and only have to be refilled even on long expeditions or prospects, only once or twice. And of course, workshop repair kits are awesome on open world, where you're not uploading that often and you're using your tools a lot, or long prospects. Of course, the Icarus Nev's pickaxe is an amazing pickaxe, but extremely expensive for new players. But it's definitely one of the best pickaxes in the game, along with the Icarus Ventura knife, which is also a great knife that prevents 100% the chance of a basic wound, which is the wounds that small animals give you, not like bears and whatnot, or crocodiles. That's deep wounds. The backpacks are absolutely amazing in this game, and one of my favorite backpacks to go when I'm doing a quick mission is the survival backpack for its plus 5% movement speed, and avoid the chance of sprains whenever taking fall damage. The second backpack, and the only other backpack that I personally use, is the Larkwell Martinez Tactical Backpack, which gives you plus 12 suit inventory slots. Reason why is because we're trying to max out as many inventory slots as we can because, as we mentioned earlier, we don't move encumbered slowly. We can fill up our whole entire inventory, which we use a lot of inventory slots to fill up, and go and farm out whole caves at a time. I'll also always use mass dampener modules just because of the increased movement speed, because movement speed is amazing in this game. If you can move faster than the enemies, then they can't even catch you. Also, it lets you travel long distances much faster. Any of the workshop gear is amazing. The Nano armor is absolutely amazing for extra weight capacity and gives you extra maximum stamina regeneration, and it has quite a bit of physical resistance. Where the CX400 armor is a really great gathering armor. And it also gives you the exact same perk as Lucky Strike, which is a 1% chance to instantly fell trees and ores. Plus you get 25% more from mining and from felling trees with the full set. And the ST700 armor is one of my favorite when I'm killing bosses or killing stuff. It does reduce your perceived threat by 35%. You do crouch and move faster, and you do have more stealth damage. And it's a great armor. Great projectile damage increase and melee damage increase as well. I use it to kill stuff with. Of course, we mentioned the MXC fuel canister. It's a great workshop item to have, especially if you're on a very, very long prospect or open world. And the vaccines are on honestly a really good thing to have. I don't personally ever use blood thinning or parasitic, but I do actually use the anti-poison when I'm killing sandworms on our migrating sands runs, or I also use the bacterial magazine very rarely, but sometimes I'll take it so I don't get cave lung or pneumonia. The Larkwell Martinez compound bow currently is one of the best bows in the game at the moment, and it's a drop down bow. Absolutely amazing bow, highly suggested. And I also like Inaris Lua Enviro suit just because of the sheer fact that it gives me 3 suit modules and an oxygen and water slot. And Larkwell arrows are honestly one of the best arrows in the game. They are a little expensive at 50 Ren crafting cost and 250 to unlock, but if it's a little too much for your blood, you can always go with the 10 Ren cost of the Inaris Ardura arrow bundle. And they're not too bad. That's 25 good bundled arrows. Of course, these bundles can only be opened on PlanetSide, and once they're open, they cannot be returned. We also have the new Senatai Drop Pod Recall Beacon. We'll talk about that in a little bit here in a tip coming up soon. We're going to talk just a little bit about talents. I have a newer character here that has 60 talent points. Some has been spent, but most aren't. Any talent that increases your stamina, like Chase Them Down, is highly recommended. Anything increases maximum stamina, stamina regeneration, or your movement speed, you definitely want to go with. You also definitely want to go with Carry On, especially if you're doing a lot of farming, and that's for that encumbrance penalty reduction that we talked about earlier with the Inaris pickaxe. Exotic power actually reduces the weight of exotics, so if you're doing a lot of exotics run, it may be worth it to go into that. But Exotic Sprinter also gives you a plus 10% movement speed for carrying exotics. And if you're doing a full movement speed build, trying to move as fast as you can or going over 500% movement speed, you may want to hit that a few times. Maybe all the way up to 10, maybe not. Depends on what you like. I still like Lucky Strike personally, even though we still have the CX 400 armor, but I have Lucky Strike on most of my characters. Season Logman automatically picks up gathered wood from chopping trees, saves so much time. I absolutely love Food Pyramid because it gives you the extra space in your food. Also, Freshest Best is another great farming perk, especially if you're on an open world. If you make the crop plots with that talent on, none of your crops will ever wither. Of course, we mentioned health bars earlier. Health bars is one of my highly recommended talents to have. Also recommend, like we said, any kind of stamina regeneration, ready to work on repairing and under habitation. Great talent to have. And of course, whatever talents you go with on your combat. Of course, these are the multiplayer talents or perks. I also recommend, if you're trying to go for maximum speed, get an Arctic Master, Forest Master, and Desert Master. These all give you plus 5% movement speed in the desert, and of course have an additional perk attached to them. Like Desert gives you less water consumed. Arctic is plus 15% cold resistance, which is really nice, and plus 10% health regen when in the forest with Forest Master. There's a lot of talents in this game, so pick and choose. You got 60. And of course, this is my solo talents. This is what I choose to do in solo, and if you're working solo mostly, this will be the one that's activated most of the time. Of course, I'm a melee user on my main character, so we have Heavy Hitter and of course Health Monitor. Health Monitor is the health bars version to see animal health bars. Health regeneration, maximum health, movement speed, physical resistances from animals, and stamina, increased stamina regeneration, and increased maximum stamina are all great items to have in your solo tree. I do also use low maintenance, which reduces your food, water, and oxygen consumption, and miner rewards, which increases your yield from mining. Also, Sweet Savory and Satisfied is another one of my favorites, which increases your food effects duration. Also, I forgot to mention on the talents with multiplayers, if you are playing with people quite often, Naturally Preserved is an awesome talent to have, which reduces at the 3rd rank negative 50% rate of food spoiling, which is awesome, especially if you're out and about a lot and not near your refrigerators or ice boxes. And you can also go some extra maximum stamina with Get Up and Go in the farming talent, and longer lasting effects, which is food effects duration. Most people know that sickles give them a lot more fiber than gathering by hand, but did you know you can also use it on items like lilies to get more lilies? Berry bushes as well. You can also use it on yeast to gather more yeast than you would by hand, as well as wheat. If you ever come across this is called a geyser. You can place a vapor condenser on a geyser and power it. This will enable horde mode, which is quite difficult, so be prepared and have a huge structure built around it to protect your condenser. If the condenser gets destroyed, you have to start over again. and there's always 3 rounds per event. Good luck. Charcoal is fairly easy to get in this game by burning wood, but you can also chop down charcoal trees. And you can get charcoal that way. If you have the wood pickup perk, it will go in your inventory. If not, it'll just fall on the ground. If you're looking for a neat way to run your electrical wires back home, you could put your electrical wires on top of wood or stone pillars like this. And that way you know where your line's going. Of course, you don't have to do this, but I always thought it was kind of neat. If you connect your glassworking bench to an active water connection, then you can actually make what they call reinforced glass. And reinforced glass has the exact same durability as stone pieces. All you have to do is have an active water connection, and as you see, this glass wall has the reinforced perk, reinforced glass. Carrying glass structures on you also are much lighter, and with reinforced glass perk, that means that you can basically carry a super light structure, but that has the durability of stone. You can split stacks by holding left shift and moving the mouse button over. This will split the stack directly in half. Holding left shift and left clicking and dragging it over to another spot. You can also transfer items fast by holding left control and then left clicking the item. This works on both sides of the inventory. Also, if you want to pull a large amount of items out of a box at once, this tip's for you. If you hold left control and left shift and then left click, you will transfer all of the same item at the same time. This works for multiple types of items in your inventory too. And you can also sort items in your inventory. You click on this little gray box here, you can sort it by name, stack, type, and weight, and then click sort. We're going to show you how cooking and smelting queues work. So mostly with the smelter here, we're going to show you the first item that's in the top left corner of the inventory will be the first thing that's smelted, and anything over to the right hand side of it afterwards. So this is the first, second, third, 4th, 5th, 6th, then this would be the 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th thing smelt. So from the top left and right over, these items will be smelted. We hit activate, and once this gold right here finishes, the next thing that'll be smelted is our titanium, then in this case, platinum, gold again, platinum, iron, then silica. As we mentioned, this also works with campfires or any other device that you can cook in. The first item in the slot is cooked first. The next item is going to be the raw meat cooked, and then finally fatty T-bone. And as you see, as soon as that gamey meat was finished, it started cooking raw meat. If you wanted to change that and cook the fatty T-bone first, which I would suggest, then you can move the fatty T-bone into the first slot and the raw meat into the second. And this will cook the fatty T-bone first, like so. Flare arrows can actually light up quite a bit at night and only require stone and sulfur. Then you gotta bring up your bow and change over to the flare arrow, and then you just shoot it off into the air. As you can see, it can light up the area quite a bit. Great way to signal friends as well in the dark. And once the flare comes down, it'll light up the whole area. Like so. So yeah. Lights up the area quite a bit. Great for those nighttime excursions. So there's actually 2 dropship recall beacons. One that you can make with composites, which we have here, and also one that you can buy in the workshop for a little bit of Ren after you unlock it with exotics. What these are they bring your dropship close to you. We're gonna throw one out. And as you can see, our dropship was clear across the map, and it's here now. And if we felt so inclined to do so, we could upload and go back to the space station right now. Next thing I'm going to show you guys is how to actually repair workshop gears on planet side. So you can upload and repair it in your loadout, but you can also repair it on planet side with a repair bench. The repair bench does have to be powered, so you do have to have tier 4 to even repair the workshop gear. And you also have to have a workshop repair kit to repair an item. So what you do is you just right click the item once you have those prerequisites and repair it. Of course, repair bench can repair all your items and all your workshop stuff at the same time as well. But it's the only way on planet side now to repair your workshop gear. And it does require 1500 power. So there's actually 2 different ways to craft composites when you get there. If you're going to make composites, take your platinum, make your composites with your platinum, and keep your gold for your electronics. Water wheels are awesome. Ever since the introduction of the water wheel, I've been using these and they're actually quite good. They last for over 3 hours before you have to actually empty them. They can have up to 50 trash items in them at a time, and they supply 2000 power per. But the only thing after you set these up that you have to do to maintain them is just clean them out. They literally will go forever. They don't require biofuel, and they just have to be wired up once. So they're quite efficient as a renewable energy source for your base. I do use a combination currently of water wheels and generators for our large base, but I do officially want to go 100% green and do all water wheels one day. They're awesome. Give them a shot. They are a tier 4 item, so they are crafted in the fabricator and are about half the requirements of a biofuel generator. This tip is join our Discord. There's a link in the description down below, guys, and there are several people in our Discord that know a lot about Icarus. They're more than willing to answer questions, and sometimes they group up. We have fun and post screenshots of our Icarus and other game travels, and it's a great community, guys. So if you're looking for a place where Icarus is more than welcomed, consider joining our Discord. And our last tip for the night is how to wave in Icarus. There's one emote in Icarus, and it is the numpad plus key. So numpad plus, that will let you wave to people in Icarus. And with that, don't forget, if you like what you see, to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. It takes us days to do these types of videos. Maybe consider becoming a channel member. They get special recognition on our Icarus update weekly videos. If we do have any changes in the future, I will put them in the description down below or in comments down below. Comment down below if you have a tip that you'd like to share with the community. I'm sure we didn't get them all, and hopefully we'll see you next time. Peace.